All right, Rob. So, at what point in your life did you know, hey, I want to get into broadcasting. I want to get into radio. When, and how did that all come about in your life?
Well, I think I was in my senior year in high school, and I went to the local high school in Fond du Lac, Winnebago Lutheran. And as around high school, I thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And a friend of mine, his name's Tom Cohen, and he used to work part time at KFIZ. And then he kind of got me onto the radio thing. And the next thing you know, I'm going to school up in Wausau, and one of my teachers was Ray Samanda. He was the owner of the broadcasting school, and of course you probably remember him as the voice and the personality of Menards Hardware Lumber. He did them for years and years and years. So I went through college, or went through the tech school, and from there on in, the rest is history.
So, where did you get your start in radio? And
I got my start in radio in the Freeport, Rockford, Illinois area, and I worked down there for a few years. I worked at two different stations down there, and then I had an opportunity to work a morning show in Casper, Wyoming, at the country radio station in Casper, and this was back in the early '80s. And the name of that station was KVOC, and I worked there for a few years doing the morning show. And then I left there and went up to Billings, Montana, and did the afternoon show on another country station called KGHL. And I was up there for almost 6 years. And I spent I vacated them after about 5 years, went down to Cody, Wyoming to do my first programming job at a radio station down in Cody. And then after about a year or so, I came back up to Billings and became a program director up there. And then from there, after I spent my time in Billings, I heard that Joe Gazer was retiring. And so I sent my resume and my audition tape to KFIZ, and that's how we got back in Fond du Lac.
so you left the Big Sky country to come home.
I left the Big Sky country to come home, and then we were there for 29 years, almost 29 years before moving down to the Kansas City area.
So, what year was that then you came to KFIZ? Do you recall?
1988. They had big. They were running a promo in the Fond du Lac Reporter. 8888 is when I started on KFIZ doing the morning show.
Wow. And
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, and the gentleman at the time, the general manager at that time, his name was Steve Ruby, and he's the one that hired me. And then at that time, Clint McKay was another personality there, and he was the program director. And actually, it all came down. I interviewed with Clint McKay, and Clint McKay hired me as the new morning man, replacing Joe Gazer.
what was it like taking over for a legend like Joe?
Well, after 50 some odd years, Joe was doing that, and it was intimidating. It was one of the, it was kind of like, because Joe was there for so long, I had some pretty big shoes, some pretty big shoes to fill. And but we got through it, and I had my own style. It wasn't Joe's style, but I had my own style, and I think people appreciated that because I'm sure people didn't want me to copy what Joe was doing, so I had my own personality.
And what was it like to be hosting the morning show in your hometown, being on hometown
It was
station
it was
KFIZ?
it was pretty cool. I just I was pretty pretty honored to be doing that. And I'm sure a lot of people were wondering. They go, my goodness sakes, look what happened to him. So from out of high school, to having fun in high school, um, and then just buckling down and becoming focusing on radio, and trying to achieve at my craft. And it worked, for the almost 30 years that I was involved with the radio.
Right. How long did you host the morning show on KFIZ?
I was there. Actually, I was there two times. I was there from 1988 to around 1990, 91. And then I left, and then I went up to the Valley, and I worked at a country station up in the Neenah Menasha area. And at that time, it was a pretty big station. And I can't, right offhand, I can't remember the call letters. And then from there, I was able to, I was approached to start Sunny 97 WFDL. And so myself and Jerry St. James or St. John, um, I hired basically I hired him to be my news guy, and it was him and I for a few years doing WFDL radio when it first started back in 1993. And then after that, I worked there for a few years, and then I came back to KFIZ for another year or two, and then I just got out of radio for a while, and did my own thing. And then I got involved, believe it or not, I got involved with the airlines, and I worked with the airlines, Midwest Airlines, for about 10 years or so. And then got out of that, and then I worked for the state for a while, and then retired, and now here we are down in Kansas City.
And any fond memories from your time at KFIZ, hosting the morning show, working with people like Ron Harvey and Jerry, etc.
Oh, Jerry and I got along. We had a great rapport together. I thought we did good on the radio together as a team. And Ron Harvey was a joy to work with. Learned a lot from Ron. He just loved radio. He loved playing his big band records. He liked when he talked about, I don't know if you remember Ron, was it Ron Harvey in the Attic or the Attic Show or something like that? And after my show on KFIZ at 9, and Ron would come in for a couple of hours and he would do his program. And I engineered his show, and just the things that he would talk about, and just he always thought of radio as theater, and that's what he always liked to put that together when he was doing his show for those few hours after I got done with my show in the morning. So yeah, it was a lot of fun working with Ron. Like I said, I learned a lot. It was wonderful. I had a great news guy when I was working there, Greg Stenslin, and I also worked with Greg at WFDL. And then working with Tom Biolo, Tom Boyson, Terry Davis, Wade Bates, Chuck Freeman when Chuck was doing sports there at KFIZ. So at one time we had a pretty good team. It was a new team, and we took over the airwaves there for a while, and it was enjoyable. And I think the audience they enjoyed it as well, because I think we had a pretty good radio station back then.
And the connection that station has with the community. I mean, back then, certainly still does now. Just very unique, very special. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, especially with sports. KFIZ was Cardinals football, Springs, and WLA's. Basically they were the voice of all the sports teams in Fond du Lac, and it was wonderful to be a part of that, as well as all the community things that we did. From all the different, from ringing bells for the Salvation Army to all the different fundraisers that the KFIZ was a part of, even doing the fair, enjoying doing the fair, and just having an opportunity to with KFIZ too. I had an opportunity to fly with the Red Baron Precision Airplane Team. That's when they were still doing it, and and KFIZ gave me that opportunity where I was able to do that. So it allowed me to do a lot of things that normally I wouldn't have been able to do, if I wasn't working for KFIZ during that time.
In your time since leaving there, you battled some health challenges. Open up a little bit about that. What did you go through, and how are you doing today?
Well, first of all, I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing great. After almost 4.5 years of going through chemotherapy, and I guess I should go back. I should start here, retrace my steps here. 2017, I was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that was in 2017, and we did a lot of chemo, and nothing was working. And it got to the point where I had stage 5, and then we were in survival mode. And I spent weeks and months in the hospital as they were, doing all these treatments on me. And I thank God I was here in Kansas City, because Kansas City, the cancer at their main hospital, KU University or Kansas City University Hospital. They're like the top 5 cancer institutes in the country, and they had a lot of trial medications going on. So we did a few of the trials. I was in remission for a little bit, and then of course I bounced out of remission, and then finally, after more chemo and more hospital stays, we found a donor for a stem cell transplant, and my donor was from the UK. She lives in Newcastle, United Kingdom, and she's Polish. She was living in the United Kingdom for about 4.5 years, and we were almost a 100% match. And this is international. This stem cell database, and so once we found out that there was a match, she donated, and in the UK, and 12 hours later, I was getting those stem cells, and they were infusing them into my body, and after 10 days to 15 days, it took a hold, and I've been in remission now for over 2.5 years now.
Oh, wonderful. Great to hear. And did you ever get a chance to connect with the donor?
Oh yeah, we talk occasionally. One thing that's really nice about the internet, we're able to instant text message each other back and forth, and it's instant. Of course, there's a time difference, but it's really cool to touch bases with her. She's just a 30-year-old medical professional in the UK, and the ironic thing about that is she's from Poland, and I'm doing some research on my background, because I know my grandfather. He came from Poland, and he moved here to the United States at 12 years old. So there might be a connection there, and I'm still trying to figure out where my grandfather was born and where he lived, and if there was some type of connection with this young lady that donated her stem cells, and that she was almost 100%. She was almost a 100% match for me.
That is amazing. And
Oh, it's amazing, and she's just a good kid, and we're hoping we can get out there next year, so we can meet, we can finally meet, and I'm sure that will be a little bit of an emotional time as well.
absolutely. And I know that you credit not only your own faith, but the faith of many others for helping you get through that journey. And
Oh yeah, I had so many prayer warriors, and with my church here in Kansas City, my brother's church down in Florida, and then just basically my oncologist and my surgeons. There was one point where, when I was going into surgery, one surgery I had, it was touch and go, and my surgeon, as they were rolling me into the operating room, he stopped and he says, "You mind if I pray over you?" I go, "Yeah, absolutely." So we had a nice little prayer there, and even my oncologist has prayed. We prayed together, and I thought, well, that's pretty cool, So yeah, I had a great support team, and my faith has grown stronger, and I've got and what happened out of that is, I thought, okay, the Lord gave me the skill to do something. And I thought, well, what can I do? And so I started thinking of ways to, show that I still enjoy doing a little voiceover work in radio. So I developed a program called legendsoffaith.org, or actually Legends of Faith, but you can go to my website, legendsoffaith.org. And what I've done is I come up with a 2.5 or 3.5 minute program on celebrities, on historical events, and just basically we just tell about their story and how faith made them successful. And it's really a cool program. I'm starting to get a lot of support with that, and it keeps me going. That's what and it's fun to write them up, and they're real quick hitting, like I said, 2.5, 3.5 minutes in length, and it's a real quick program, and people seem to enjoy it.
very, very inspirational. And one or two that you've done so far that stand out more than the others that are really a favorite of yours?
Um, I think one of my very first ones was the Apollo 8, when the Apollo 8 did their orbit around the moon before the first moon landing. I'm not sure if you remember it, or you've probably seen history tapes on it, but when they were reading from Genesis in the beginning on Christmas Eve, that is one of my favorite stories that I did, and that was my very first episode, was Legends of Faith. Other stories, from Johnny Cash to Tommy James, from Tommy James and the Shondells, to Lou Graham, the former lead singer of Foreigner. So I've got I got some pretty neat stories, and of all those stories, faith was a very important part of all these celebrities as well as these historical figures.
Well, God bless you. God bless your efforts. And
Bless you too, Sean. Appreciate that.
thank you. And final thoughts, KFIZ, 100 years of serving the Fond du Lac community and radio excellence.
100 years. They'll continue on for another 100 years in Fond du Lac, and they'll be the voice of Fond du Lac until the end of time.